30, we'll call this meeting to order, the Dr. Animal Control Advisory Board. This is a special meeting. This is a special meeting.
No, it's just a regular schedule.
At 101 South Main Street, this meeting is open to the public and subject to the open meeting laws of the state of Texas. Anybody that would wish to speak, please feel free to raise your hand, I guess. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order, and now we do have a quorum. Going to the regular agenda items, review and discuss updates from the animal control, the animal services departments.
So we don't have any really action items to discuss since it's been quite a while since we've met. There has been a lot of changes. As y'all know, Carla is no longer with us. I have moved Kelly up into the manager's position. So this is Kelly right here.
Kelly.
Gelsthorpe.
Gelsthorpe. Or
Familiar.
Gesselthorpe for people that still. Thank you for knowing exactly. Yeah, I had to make a joke about it, but yeah. Yep, Gelsthorpe.
Kelly is retired fire service, but she was working in Waxahachie at their animal control there. And I sweet talked her into coming here. She worked for about a year. Well, not even quite a year as the ACO.
About a year and a half there.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I've been
About a year and a half. And then when we went through the interview process, I felt like Kelly was the best fit. She's already had made some changes within the shelter and had really, I think, already stepped up the game with her being an ACO. So we'd had lots of conversations about the direction that we wanted to take the shelter and how I wanted to get it that last leg. And I felt that I could do that with her, and she's already proved that, and even with just the first month that she's been in that role. So I don't know if you want to, let's see, there is a list that we kind of went through. I'll kind of let her touch on that. We did Heather started today. She is actually filling Kelly's position, ACO position, since she went into the managers. It left a vacancy. We do expect to lose Kaylee sometime in the near future. She's getting married, so she'll be relocating. But that's the only reason. So we're crossing our fingers, trying to keep her as long as we can. But Kelly's been really good about trying to plan, and she's got a succession plan in place to help fill the gap. So right now we're full staff, but when Kaylee leaves, it will open up another vacancy. We did when Donna left, we hired a part-time. She was actually serving a community service, so she was actually already familiar with the shelter, fit in good with the staff, and she's really just fit in perfectly. She's actually on her own started studying to take the ACO course, and it went 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
She
went
actually
to the
already
class and got certified already. She's already got her euthanasia certification too. So as far as I know, the plan is to move Allie into the vacancy, if that is still the plan.
That is the
Allie.
Allison.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Allison.
short for Allison.
But she's been going to all the adoption events, and with them being shorthanded up until today, she's been filling in and helping with the coverage. So she cleans up. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, truthfully, well, to come in behind somebody, I gotta at least pat Carla on the back a little bit. I mean, the shelter was in, I mean, fairly decent shape. I mean, she did tend to collect items and kind of hang on to, things that we maybe didn't necessarily need, but overall it was a very easy takeover.
Yeah.
Small, we were for so long. Hang on to it all about not needed. Fresh hire, fresh. Breathe life into where Like,
Yeah. And it came out of there. She's donated it to other shelters, so it's been repurposed. If you have time, I highly encourage y'all to go take a look at the shelter. It looks phenomenal. We've made a lot of changes over the last 2 years since I've been here, and then with her purging everything, it looks really great. It's been repainted. It's no longer red. The floors have been redone. Yeah, yeah. It's all been repainted.
I mean, for the most part, they're definitely better than they were.
Yeah. There's a few spots that it bubbled and we're not really sure why. So, long story short, TxDOT is gonna be coming through there with the new underpass. So who knows when that will be, but it's coming through the front of the shelter. So we're trying not to do anything.
And what's gonna happen then?
We're gonna have to relocate the shelter. Build a new one. So that's one of the items, but well, yeah, it's not 100%. Yeah, there's a lot of variables because I don't think it's gonna happen quick, but supposedly next year in 24, they're supposed to be acquiring properties. So we can't vacate the property prior to, because we'll lose the relocation expenses and stuff like that, so. Yes.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. It is far better than what it was, yeah. Yeah, we updated some of the kennel doors to the glass doors on one side, so it's helped control the disease. We have it in this budget to purchase the other half, but they're all reusable because they're custom fitted, but they have little pieces on them that can be adjusted, so. But so she's cleaned and reorganized the shelter. They've been doing a lot of adoption events. Kelly has had a couple of shot clinics, probably 2 since you've been manager, that have been highly successful. They've been super, super busy, very well ran. We've gotten great responses from the citizens.
Did we use the?
Yeah. Yeah, and they put a sign out front. Yep.
That was a really good event. I tried a lot of different things. I tried taking cats out just to see if anybody would bite. That probably wasn't the best idea. I think kittens would be smarter. But I actually used my community service, so I had a lot of extra help. It flowed almost seamlessly.
Yeah. Yeah, they had the new truck too. I had extra storage in it.
But truthfully, the balloons were the best part.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. The balloons were a really good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I think it would.
So I'll remember to keep cookies available for you.
Yeah,
Just email me your favorite type.
I think they adopted 9 that day.
We did.
And quite a few, because they did, what was the other event? Y'all did the Christmas on Main Street too.
We had a lot of adopting from Christmas on Main, yeah.
So just getting them out there and just getting the community to know them too, even if it's not to adopt something, for them to ask questions or just to start knowing their faces. For some reason or another, a lot of the donations had been stopped under the prior police chief's regime. So they've been working to reestablish those. So they do get calls from the Walmart marketplace over off the 731. They go pick up stuff. Burleson Animal Shelter, if they have stuff, they'll call us. They've been doing pretty good on.
You're talking about food and.
Yeah. Paper towels, toilet paper, anything that they have that may be open that they can reuse or just overstock. So they do get a good number of donations. Operation Kindness, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. They were approached by them.
Yeah, I reached out to Operation Kindness just to see what they could or couldn't help us with. Unfortunately, we're too good at our job. Our live release rate's a little bit too good to actually get more help from them. I mostly wanted to see about getting a vet in to possibly do spays and neuters, even if it was just once a month or once every couple of weeks or something, just a day. But we're too good at our job. But they did volunteer to do like some of these clinics, so that is something that we're gonna try to do annually along with TCAP, because TCAP was a really, I think we had over 200 animals seen for the TCAP event. So being able to do those events has been very well received by the community.
They put it with the TCAP, they got, very unhappy with TCAP coming and it decreased their ability to raise money. I did it for 36 years.
I didn't know they did like shot clinics.
We did rabies clinic once a year
Oh, really?
and it. TCAP
Rabies
put 'em
clinic?
out of
Really?
business. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did it every year. I donated everything. Martine? Yeah, yeah, yeah. We did it, but when they started doing TCAP, I paid for my vaccine and TCAP. Well, TCAP don't even get a 1-year vaccine.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but I paid for my vaccine. I donated everything.
Oh,
but
wow.
FFA got pretty put out with the city of Joshua and tried to talk to them and they're like, no, we're
Oh,
not gonna
really?
do that.
That's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's probably 3 years ago, this is probably 3rd year now.
Must have been before me. So 2 years in April.
That's probably 3 years. Uh-uh.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're going to be doing it, somebody. 'Cause I- It's important.
Very good. Be involved.
Absolutely.
It gave an avenue, another avenue.
Mhm.
To let people know that the city has programs, has things.
Yeah.
To help the community.
Yeah,
And like-
absolutely.
like she said, she donated
Everything.
everything.
Health
And
inspector.
it was just,
They get a good turnout. I'm surprised.
They make- usually they're- And so.
Oh, so they charge like just a low, and then, but you donated it, so they got all the money. Yeah. Very
So,
cool.
but
so all those programs, my point is, all those programs help keep the animals at large and the animals in people's homes.
I mean, people would drive up with
Right.
pit bull.
You know, people don't go do, I had big dogs. I had to follow in a captain. That's that.
Not everybody can go. But not everybody can go during the week, so the fact that they're doing it on the weekend is helpful. too.
In May.
Good deal.
Interesting.
But yeah, anyway, back to what you're saying about the programs that you've already been part of. Let's keep that up.
I talked to them that they want to reestablish it, Haley, is head of their department and Brent Neil, I talked to them. See if they can do it next year.
Speaking of pricing on stuff, she has been doing a lot of research on trying, because we, for some reason, have kept the same vendors for a long time. So she's really combed through and checked prices, and there's been a few vendors that she's not had good luck with that we've used for a while. So I think you've made some switches on some of the vendors.
We were spending way more than we had to on certain vendors, especially like vaccines. She was using Merck, and Merck was just charging a crazy amount. So I think just in the first order, I saved like $2,000 on just one set of vaccines. So, you know, spread over time, you know, that calculates out to be quite a bit of money. So
Just make sure you're buying good quality.
they are, it's still all the same stuff. I'm just literally just buying it for cheaper. I think it's a vet supply. I don't know if it's Cal Vet. I'd have to go back and look, but buying from Merck was expensive. So that's just one example.
And then disease control, we've had a few challenges this year, but Kelly's been able to get them under control. Was it pneumonia?
Yeah, we had a cat at the shelter for a month and it broke with pneumonia
After being there for.
and
a
then
month.
exposed it to just a few other cats. So we were able to catch it quick. And just treat those cats for it. We have what we think we have kennel cough right now, so we're treating for that. And are close for intake for 2 weeks. So
Yeah, she's been able to stay on top of it and catch it quick. And I think those kennel doors in the dog areas certainly probably made it a little bit harder for it to cross contaminate, so. And then, we have expanded their presence on social media. Kelly's really rebuilt some relationships with, some of the rescues and has been able to get a lot more animals out of there. Statistically, they're running already above average for this year, looking back at previous years, but a lot of it, I think, is because she's been able to get stuff out that typically would be there for 6-8 months or a year. We've even had some of the longtime residents that she's managed to place. So it's been neat to watch that pick up instead of them just being stuck there. She posts anything that comes in on Adopt a Pet, Pet Finder, anywhere where she can get it out there and get the word spread. So I think that's been a big contributor to getting the in and out. Have anything to say on that?
Yeah, because I mean, some of that stuff we weren't on anymore. We weren't on Adopt a Pet, we weren't on Pet Finder, we weren't on any of that stuff when I started. So just getting us back. I know that I get emails and stuff through Pet Finder or Adopt a Pet all the time. So I know that we're at least getting more views, which is all that we can ask for. So I do think it's helped. Another thing that I've done is when I started, all feral cats were being euthanized. I still think that feral cats have a place. So I've started basically sterilizing them, getting their ears tipped and getting rabies, and then we do find them homes.
It's
So
basically like a barn cat program.
yep.
And she's got quite a few people that reach out. So it's been nice to see those getting out instead of. Mhm.
Some animals that subsidies for ag versus.
Mhm. Yeah, we have not had a single person reach out about that either. Yeah. But it is on there.
The charges
Mhm.
for adoption thing. Same plan.
Yeah, that was something we were gonna talk about too. Yeah, the ones that are, the ones that are of age that can be spayed and neutered are being taken each Monday to TCAP to be spayed and neutered. The only other problem is the kittens and the puppies. Usually they're a lot easier to move out of there when they're small. So we were looking at maybe adjusting the fee schedule to include one for puppies and kittens because they're not already fully vetted. Instead of providing a voucher because they may not take it to TCAP to be sterilized. They may take it to Dr. Susie or. Yeah. So we were talking about, we wanted to discuss adjusting a few ordinances, that being one of them was to add an extra set of fees for puppies and kittens at a lower rate, since there's really nothing but a set of shots and worming in them. So, but that is down here on to be discussed. Increased enforcement of city ordinances. Kelly has been putting in some extra time into their schedule to do some patrolling, to start being a little bit more proactive instead of just reactive. Because of it, we've ran into some issues as far as additional ordinances that need to be updated so she can actually hold them to it and make them correct the problem permanently instead of just a reoccurring issue a couple of months down the road. Yeah. And then like future planning, like we were talking about TxDOT, that underpass, they have not released the route that they're going through, but we've been told in not so many words that it's the path that is going to take out the shelter. So as we get information, I'll make sure to relay it, but it's not anything that's going to happen anytime soon. I don't believe that they've got 16 properties that they'll have to acquire. So but that will mean that we will relocate the shelter.
Hopefully we make it bigger.
Yeah, that's well, and we did a feasibility study, and the initial plan was to add on to it and make some pretty significant renovations. But now that we know that it's gonna have to be taken down, we're just, yeah. Well, text ought to buy the property.
Yeah.
So it is literally going through the front, the lobby area.
Is it going through the fire department?
No, it's coming through the shelter down this way, so it's gonna take out the house, that house on the corner. Is it 12th Street, I think? Yeah. Is that 14th or is that 12th? That's 12th.
This is 14, that's 12.
Okay. Yeah. So, that is just kind of an unknown at this point. So we are keeping up with the shelter, but as far as anything, that's
We
gonna
don't
be
dump a lot
a
of
ton of money into it, yeah. But it's highly functional. It's for our size city. I think we have a really nice shelter. We've done some significant upgrades to keep them functioning. She's made a lot of changes to their, what's that room called? The
Treatment room. is
treatment
biggest
room.
treatment Table that I don't know the
Cause there's
the
just
way the
so
room
much.
is set up, so I rearranged it where we can actually treat animals and.
Adding some, how many interior pens do y'all have?
We
10?
have 18 inside
In-
kennels. but
10
we only have
inside.
10 out. outside.
So she's trying to come up with a way to separate off a couple, like maybe 2 more outside, but they know what dogs can be put together for the most part, and they keep them in those so they don't get share anything with each other, but they've made it work for this long, so. Ordinance wise, I'll let you kind of talk about ordinances. There's a few that she had listed that she would like to address at the next meeting, when we get it scheduled.
One of them is at-large dogs. When I worked in Waxahachie, if you picked up a dog 3 times, and especially if it had already been neutered, but they couldn't contain it, we made them remove it from the city. It doesn't have to be 3, that doesn't have to be the magical number, but I have several dogs just in the year that I've been here. We've picked them up 5, 6, 8, 10 times. And you can ticket them, but for people that just pay the tickets and don't care, then what's the point? You know, if they're never gonna actually do what they're supposed to do and actually contain their dog. There has to be some recourse past ticketing, because tickets don't.
Works a lot, getting.
The,
Yeah.
we could. The problem is what we're running into as well is if people don't want to pay their fines, there is no warrant for arrest. So if they don't come in and pay their citations, it just goes to collections. It doesn't actually go to a warrant. So there's no backing even in writing citations. We can probably keep the animal if we get it, but I don't know. I think there would have to be something to back us to say.
No, they come through the shelter. Well, they're processed through the system.
Yeah, they're processed in our system.
So the people have to come and get them.
They do. So, but I can't just, if someone walks in the shelter right now, I can't say, well, this is the 3rd time you're not getting your animal back. I feel like there'd have to be something in ordinance that would back that. Right. Okay. Absolutely.
dog has been confiscated because you can't keep it in. And it's gonna cost you this much to get the dog back, or the dog's rendered abandoned and we're gonna adopt it out, or, come up with some ideas that you want to see in an
Okay.
ordinance that will hold
Okay.
water in that event, and then we'll look at it and
Yeah.
tweak it.
Well, and the thing is we try it doesn't work, then we keep pivoting until we find something that does
Yeah.
work.
And my thing is too, with as overpopulated and as much trouble as we already have getting animals out of the shelter, I don't want to keep. I don't want to create more problems for more dogs for me to try to find a home for, so. Yeah.
Yeah. An idea. or even a new ordinance, just for it, or probably just an amendment to the already ordinance.
Yeah, and then,
We'll pound it out.
Yeah.
Once you guys come up with an idea, we'll
Right.
pound it out and add it.
Mhm.
You know,
and then on the trapping, you want to do away with trapping, correct?
We've pretty much already done away with trapping.
Renting traps.
Like, it's only gonna take one time on the internet for someone to have one of our traps with our name on it and a cat that someone left out in the summer sun for 24 hours. And then we're gonna be the devil. So it was kind of my decision, no more trapping. The
And this is
biggest-
when they rent traps out for the public to use.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought, I did too. Now, if people want to trap, this has become an issue. People will just go and trap a cat and then the expectation is that we have to take it. Sometimes we don't have room for that. I am doing a feral cat program, but I can't take every feral cat in the city all at one time. So I think I just want an ordinance for it to say that we can take them, but it's up to the discretion of the shelter whether or not we take them. If that makes sense, because I've had some people that were extremely irate and angry have come in and they're like, you have to take this cat, which technically, yes. But it would be my preference that someone say, hey, we are planning to trap. Do you have room for this cat or should I wait a week? You know, or 2 weeks until there's actually space. I don't always have space for animals.
Can't trap. Won't get it. I'm just trapping any- where we go. Endless armadillo is very. Utility. Also, you get skunks, you get just every varmint. I live out in the country, so every varmint is, I could just imagine if I started trapping stuff, I'd probably have to let my own cats out 4 or 5 times a day.
So we talked a little bit about the dismissed citations and the final remedies, about how to come up with solutions that are final, not just, we just keep allowing it to happen. Is that what you're speaking of as far as final remedies?
Yeah,
Well-
what kind of something that's-
For repeat
Yeah.
offenders?
Well, there's that, but the Cliff Note version is we have a guy that refuses to move a couple of ponies off his property. And the only reason I would have even been alerted to it is he wasn't feeding them. Like for the entire 2 weeks that we had the ice storm this year, they did not receive a bite of food for the entire 2 weeks. And plus their water was frozen intermittently throughout that entire time. So he got on my radar to the point that I was buying hay out of my money and sweet feed out of my money to feed his horses. And so I went and looked at the zoning. They're not even supposed to be on his property anyway. So then I wrote about $13,000 worth of tickets. And he's still refusing to remove them. And the tickets are about to go to warrant, which doesn't mean anything here. So what is the recourse? So we did talk to the lawyer today. We can file a chapter 54, something or another. I have to actually look at it. I don't know exactly what it means, but we can, through the court, we can basically court mandate that he remove them. But I don't know what it looks like for the fines, does he still have to pay the fines? I assume that he does, because
That
he
would
wrote
be
the
up to the
tickets.
judge, yeah.
Yeah,
So he's
but
now,
he's refusing to come to court as well. And it's, his ponies are his family. But he also doesn't feed them. So,
Did you tell him you found them without food and water?
oh yeah, I have a fairly thick folder
'Cause
full
I
of
thought that was
documentation.
cause for, even in the,
I don't think it's not cause for removal. Because he's been a lot better about it now, and interestingly, they've all gained weight. So,
he's going on
So,
vacation next
current
week.
ordinance-
It's not well defined.
and you gotta be careful and go through the city attorney or the city sued on that.
which we've done, we've been very careful to deal with the attorney.
You got brought in. I mean, he's in violation of multiple ordinances. We're trying to give him grace, but we're past that point. So, we have been, and I guess the mayor spoke with him today, so he should have him out of there. He said he's going on vacation, I think next week, and he'll get him out of there the week after, so. But he's been sent a 10-day letter that he has to appear in court, and then he'll get sent one more letter after that, and after that it will go to warrant status. But he's not received any, he won't take any of the certified mail because it gets sent regular mail and certified, so. He supposedly just opened the regular mail, but I don't know. It's just a bad situation all the way around, so. But.
But that things you need to keep us aware of.
Mhm. Yeah.
We can do.
Yeah.
Limit that possibility.
Yeah,
I, of all people, don't like just strong arming,
yeah,
people that maybe have enough room for an animal.
in this case, he does not.
He's got two ponies that are probably in an area about this big. They've never cleaned the poop out of it. They don't have any shelter. Very often do not have food and very often do not have water. And they're being housed and it's like.
So I digress, but I mean, like.
We just need to give her ordinances that, yeah, absolutely.
But there is.
Yeah.
We need to clarify some stuff in order. Tell us exactly what needs to be clarified and cleaned up. And
Yeah.
get that fixed. That's the situation. I don't want you to have to be in a situation
Yeah,
or for us to
I
have.
just want to give her some teeth to what she can.
Cause I know it doesn't look good to do. You were the neighbor that was seeing that, how upset you would be and expecting the city to do something about it.
Yeah.
As well as the landowner. Either not being able or willing to do anything about it.
Yeah.
I can see both sides of the fence from that. But yeah,
A couple of the other items related to the ordinance changes, she'd like to start requiring proof of rabies for any animals that are surrendered instead of them just being able to bring whatever. There's so many places where they can at least go get a rabies vaccination. So it would help them
okay.
It would decrease the risk significantly of what they're bringing into the shelter. Also, she kind of touched on it, refusal of owner surrenders due to space availability. If we don't have a place to put it, that's gonna force them to euthanize it. She's usually pretty good about, can you keep it for a couple of weeks? Or she keeps a running list of when they do have open space, you're next on the list, or you're fifth on the list, or 150th on the list, whatever that may be.
I also, for people that are wanting to surrender, I did do this in Waxahachie. The lady that I worked for there was, she was definitely euthanasia friendly. So when people got on a list to surrender, I would post the animal on Pet Finder. And I actually would try to get a home for the dog before their date to actually surrender. So I'm kind of wondering if I can implement that here, like, yes, we can take the dog in a month, but I'm going to post it on Pet Finder for that month to see if we can find a home that way.
So it doesn't even have to come into the shelter.
So yeah, we avoid the shelter plus an animal gets a home.
And then failed adoptions to be processed as owner surrenders, so just a change up on how they're doing the owner surrenders. So if somebody comes in and adopts a dog or cat and it just doesn't work out, they will take it back, but it needs to be processed as an owner surrender, and then I guess the fee for that would be assessed.
I mean, it could be, it's more just sometimes we just don't have space. If we have a failed adoption, well, maybe like right this second, I probably could take it back, but failed adoption sometimes, and we have, yeah, sorry, we can't take it back. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then as far as the adjustment to the adoption fees, we did want to to do a second set of fees for puppies and kittens at a reduced price, since we don't have that spay and neuter cost, all the vaccinations and all that in them. So it does help her move them out of there a little bit easier, and that way they can use a vet of their choice. And so, because we were gonna initially do vouchers, but not every vet's gonna take that, and they may have a family vet that they would prefer to use, so that voucher is just gonna go to waste, so. Well, and then she wanted to make the last one, another tweak to the keeping of fowl and livestock. I don't remember specifically what it was on that one, but
Yeah, there's a wording about one of the livestock. That if you live in agricultural. It's just the way it's worded. That the list of things don't apply, and one of them's like food and water and shelter. And I was like, those kind of do apply, so it's just some rewording on that. And also,
I know.
yes, and then the other one would be for agricultural. We had somebody who wanted to open a hatchery. And technically, probably on a agricultural property that's in town, they might be able to pull that off. So I wanted to try to see if we can limit how many hens or roosters permitted
So we don't
on an
know.
agricultural property, because he wanted to bring in 300 hens, which I'm sure in a neighborhood area would not be wise.
We do on,
We do for residential properties, it's no more than 6 hens, I believe, and no roosters.
Yeah.
But for ag zoned properties, there's nothing. So I'd like it to maybe limit it to 25.
let's see, I don't think we allow, period.
We don't, but I think on ag property, you can have roosters. And so he basically wanted to do a hatchery. Well, and he said that he wasn't going to buy and sell chicks or eggs from the property. He was going to transport it elsewhere. But still, the thought of having 300 hens, 50 feet from my house, I'm not sure I'd be super happy about it. I have 11 hens and they stink. It's bad. So yeah, just a couple, just a wording on that. And I think the only other one was for current rabies vaccination is either the 1 year or the 3 year.
So what did you tell him? He asked you about that.
I ended up going over to permits, and between both ordinances, either through them or through us, I think we were able to shoot it down, because I think they had it to where if he was going to do something like that.
Couldn't be within so many feet of the house and can't be.
Well,
within so
but
many
I
feet
think
of
the
fence.
neighbors or whatever had to be polled or whatever,
Oh,
or asked
would
if
have
they
to-
would approve it, and they were like, they're never gonna approve it. Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. And I think that's it.
Yeah, and then I did include, um.
Okay, well, and see, and I thought it, well, and at least in Waxahachie, they had to have the three-year vaccine 2 years in a row for the 3 year to actually be valid.
I think
Well,
the way
that
we,
keeps changing, but if they get vaccinated, like our standard is at 16 weeks. And if you are going to allow them to go 3 years, they have to be revaccinated at 12 months. That's not happening in this county at all.
so I think the way we changed the ordinance, if I remember correctly, was whatever the vet. Like if they went to you and you said it has to be 3 years, that we honor the,
1 year vaccine. That's how they get. So,
but we honor whatever the vet certificate says. I believe so.
Well,
I think it's based on the counties,
yeah. They Texas, but, yeah, what they're not a lot.
Well, maybe we should keep the ordinance somewhere based around the availability of standard.
Most of the other municipalities around here have gone to a 3 year vaccine. They've announced that, but the thing still with.
What do you do with these clinics though?
Well, we just have so many animals that you can't prove that they're ever been vaccinated once, much less twice,
Right.
so is that animal vaccinated? No.
Yeah.
And are y'all keeping, this is just off the cuff, are y'all keeping any animals for rabies quarantine?
Yeah.
At all right now?
We do, but not any county.
we were taking county, but we put a stop to it because they
I
were
mean,
not
we just
reimbursing
don't
us for
want like
anything.
Been able to keep any, and most of the ones that I'm getting are so aggressive, no, my technicians can't even that.
So we are,
Cause they've asked me if you were, and I was like.
if,
I don't
if
know.
if the bite didn't happen in our city, I don't have to take it. Now, I have helped people from the county, but the dog couldn't be at large and it should already have had its vaccination for me to do an in-home quarantine. And I think that I can go outside of my city limits as the LRCA. I believe that I can go outside the city limits and do a home quarantine. But,
Better check
but
on it.
that's,
I
and so
don't
I
think-
haven't done it
I don't
because,
think you can.
okay.
Don't-
And
It
I,
depends on who you get to.
and that's part of the problem. Well, for us, if, per our ordinance, if they weren't at large, so if they bit somebody like in their home and they were current on a rabies vaccination, we can do an in-home quarantine, but however, it is up to my discretion if we don't have space and the bite happened in my city, then what do? You might have,
Gets loose, you let it be home quarantine, it didn't bite them, their family. And now you got, these people are gonna have to go get rabies vaccinated. There's a lot of liability with that.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't do too many.
we don't do a ton of them.
I just wondered if y'all were doing, because I have decreased the number I do
Oh,
greatly,
yeah.
because.
Well,
we
I
have
don't-
every-
If it happens in the city limits, I don't think I have a choice. Unless I just don't have room. And then I'm sure at that point I can make them try to go to a vet. But I don't know if that's
There's
gonna come
nobody
back and
around
bite
here
me.
keeping it.
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
I think these are so aggressive,
Yeah.
we can't touch them and keeping them over the weekend, nobody
It's-
else there. It's a dangerous thing for my technician.
To where it flows with,
Flow with times.
with the standards. Yeah. That's pretty.
You know, best practice or what's going on in the county. Maybe.
Which the problem is the county doesn't do much.
And then when you tell them 3 years, you know, when they show up, about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And these dogs are not rabies vaccinated, I mean, you know. Very few veterinarians, when that originally got changed in the state of Texas, made that one. Dentists and people like that made this.
Well, the city of Worth.
Yeah.
Just changed their ordinance about 2 years ago, and I know the code enforcement who's in charge of that. I'll try to get a copy of that, because about 2 years ago, in a little baseball tournament, a family was there trying to adopt up puppies, and they had the mother, and she was rabies. She had the rabies tag. 2 days later, one of those people called because the puppy had bit their child, they tested it, it came down with rabies. Then they tried to find a puppies that were given away at that little league game during the summer. And after that, the city of Fort Worth changed their order because that's huge.
Yeah.
It was on public parkland.
Oh, no.
And
Yeah.
the city of Fort Worth, I know, but it might take them 3 years. You know how long it takes for the lawyers to get it back and forth and go back and forth. So I know they were trying to change their order about the way you can. Just because the mother is, and these were young puppies, they were 2 or 3 months old, but still, I mean. The city's liable because it was given away on public, partly liable, or they're subject to be sued because of that. It was on public parkland.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what's been going on. Still Kelly's got some pretty good list of like goals that she's working towards, and I just want to make sure that we give her the tools that she needs to enforce some of the stuff and finally get some of it cleaned up. We have been keeping up with the statistics, so yeah.
I'm definitely pinching pennies just because I've I mean, I've done my budget obviously at home, but well, I am my husband's wife. We are both very, very frugal people. But I don't like to be wasteful. And also I've never dealt with a budget really at this capacity. So I'd rather be careful up front, and then if we do need something at year end, then we'll definitely have some left over.
But nothing else crazy. Been keeping up with the statistics. I did provide those. If y'all are just curious how things have been running, but nothing too out of the normal. But
Good stuff.
Back down. Have it. Track.
Well, when I got the honor of being on this part of the council, last year, I thought I better do something about it. And so, taking the opportunity to start as a volunteer work down at the shelter. So that after I get close to 3 weeks, a couple of times.
Perfect.
And, one thing that I can tell you right off this as an instant impression, it is a very uplifting place to be. And so the attitude that's in there is a can-do attitude. And which is, I think, very refreshing and honestly not. I did adopt a little dog 13 years ago and still have to raise it. Well,
Yeah, be careful. Get the local.
well, trust me, I'm not. But they've allowed me to do some really neat things, to socialize the puppies and cats that are there. And watch those little kittens, which is a little bit of a chore, but it's. Awesome, you know, it's really appreciate it.
I've got some Kevlar, they use it for work, I can bring in.
You should probably bring it to volunteer.
I think Kevlar load in their cutters.
And the thing that I would say is that with three people working in the shelter, in my humble opinion at this moment, they are swamped and busy and constantly moving and constantly refining. And so that's my observation in the short period. And I admire everybody's job that they're doing down there. It's very, very valuable.
yeah,
And it's also a downer occasion.
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah,
And so that thing and feelings need to be dealt with.
yeah.
But I've enjoyed it.
They're pretty
Thank you
amazing.
for allowing me to do that.
We love, well, you wash those kittens. We really do.
Right, okay. Hold it back here, okay. Everybody's showing me exactly what to do and how to do it. And so that's helpful. So cool. And if anybody, I know everybody here on the panel has their own life. If you have, afternoon, go down. Because I bet they let you in.
Sharon.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna be at my house. I'm
It is. I will say though, when you walk in there, you have this preconceived like conception of what it's gonna look like, but it always smells not like a shelter in there. They do a phenomenal job of keeping it clean and organized and they do, it is not like a typical shelter. Like it's very, they do a great job. Yeah. Well, and you know how small theirs is and how, Yeah. but for a small shelter, it is extremely well. Yeah. You'll send your wife.
We need to keep
Yeah. Our problem now is
it
like,
out.
we don't even have a place to put another person.
Exactly.
She is. Yeah. Yep. I made her sign papers.
And we something.
And so, you know, I'm thinking, I don't know, sometimes grandiose it is, but the shelter could be a model shelter.
Oh, absolutely.
Or-
But and they have had
I mean,
people come in and, well, in the state inspector, she ended up taking pictures because it was so well organized and so well maintained that the state inspector asked if she could take pictures of the shelter to show other shelters. I was like,
Yeah.
that's
But the thing is,
awesome.
you're gonna have a new building, and possibility of expanding.
Yep.
That has to be planned like 5 years ago,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and so,
And flooring is important.
Absolutely.
All wood floors,
Flooring has
Yeah.
been
Concrete.
there.
Concrete.
That was.
concrete.
It's been.
It's funny with all the community service people, some of what I've been doing is a little bit to try to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, but everyone that comes in has said it's straight up TDC building. Texas Department of Corrections. For any of my people that have spent some time in jail, they're like, this is literally.
community service, tell me about.
So it was a program that was started, which I do dearly love, because we sometimes have well over 100 hours of community service a month, but it is our people that are doing their community service for jail or in trade for prison sentence, court ordered. I wouldn't say that there's no concern for safety. I think that if we try to trust our gut, if someone comes in, we don't let anyone with a sexual offense is not allowed in our building
know that.
either. Yeah,
Part of the something.
and then a lot of times I will contact chief and actually have him run somebody, because they might be, we had a guy that it was aggravated assault on a child, but when you went back, he had actually raped a 12-year-old multiple times, and I was like, he needs to get out of my building. So he was never allowed to come back. So we do check on some of the people. Some of them are just parking tickets, or and maybe they're going 85 and a 30 and or something like that. It's not that big of a deal, but I do double check on people for sure. Because I'm concerned for my own safety. But more than that, I want to make sure that my girls are safe. Or it could be a guy that got busted with 6 pounds of meth. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios.
In that.
And works. Could be here. There's one.
Alone.
No,
Part of
It is. Everyone in our building is supervised. Yeah, no community service is allowed at the shelter by themselves. They would have to step out of the building and wait for us in the parking lot. Absolutely.
any future?
everything's. Got that.
Yeah, it might take us a little bit to get some ordinances drafted and stuff like that. We're already working on it. Yeah. So, we'll get it done and. I'll try to give y'all as much notice as possible and make sure everybody can make it, but it's gonna take her a little bit to do some research and draft some things, so. Yeah, so. Okay. Perfect.
Good. There's nothing else. And there's no cookies.